Hi, welcome to Moments with Marilyn. I'm your host, Marilyn Boyer, mom of 14 homeschooled kids. It is my privilege and my passion to share with young moms tips and tools to make your journey easier. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today, I thought I would share with you one of our products that we've written called Character in Action, Taking the Next Steps. And I wanted to share, I've mentioned it before in previous podcasts, but I wanted to share how I would use this, how we would use this to help kids become servant-focused. So just let me walk you through a couple things. It deals with character qualities, and we, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We talk about 14 different character qualities, and we put them into action. And then we give suggestions for other things you can do to put this character quality into action. And then at the back of the book, we give biblical examples that put these character qualities into action, that can serve as examples for us. So the first one is creativity in action. Creativity is being resourceful and imaginative in using the talents and abilities God has given us to minister to others. And in this story, these are stories that actually happened, that we did. And we tell the story about, we took our son Adam out for a special night. And I've told about that before. We tried it on a rotating basis. We would take our kids out for special nights, and then we started doing it with our grandkids. Well, on this particular night, we took Adam to Olive Garden. He chose to go there. And as we were sitting there waiting for our food to come, this man came up to us, and he offered Adam a baseball. And Adam said, well, thank you. And with it, he gave a baseball bat. And the man's name was Mr. Garlock. He'd been a chaplain, and he had been giving baseballs to boys for over 23 years at this point. Now, he continued on. This has been several years since we met him. But he brought with him a big gym bag. It was full of baseballs and tracts. And the tract he had written himself, telling boys how he got saved. And to interest them, he would give them an actual real baseball. And as we talked to him, it was fascinating. You know, this is how he developed his own ministry. And he would just do that as he went. Wherever he went, he would take this bag of baseballs with him. And we asked how he financed that. And he said his wife had a part-time job, and she gave him the money for the baseballs. He said occasionally somebody would donate money for the baseballs. But he had given away thousands of baseballs over the year, and with the baseball, a gospel tract. And it opened a way for him to be able to share the gospel with people. And that's just so creative. It's so cool. So he encouraged our grandson, Adam, to maybe write his own gospel tract too. Really cool. So at the end of this chapter, we have ask God to show you ways that you can share the gospel with others using the talents he's given you. You might want to write your own gospel tract, or you might have another special way of sharing with others. Some people in our family, years ago, for several years, had an annual Christmas concert, and they used this as a way of sharing the gospel with the community. Often people came that would not normally go to a church service. For a period of time, we used to visit our neighbors, and we'd ask them if they had any prayer requests that we could pray for them. And then we'd go back in a couple weeks and check up on them. But after we asked for prayer requests, we'd go back to our house, we'd kneel in prayer, and we'd pray for our neighbors. And often this opened up the way to share the gospel. Whenever neighbors, even still, have a crisis in their family, they will often come and ask my husband to go pray with their, for instance, across the street, the wife's husband was dying, and she asked my husband to come and pray with him as he was dying. But it opens up a way for you to share the gospel. And it might not be right then, it might be later on when there's a need in the family and they think, oh, those people were talking about the Lord, maybe I should go talk to them. As I was writing this book, one of my sons came home, and he had stopped to help a couple that had a flat tire. And they didn't have another tire to change it, so he was going to take them to their home, which was almost 45 minutes away from Walmart where he found them. So as he took them home, he shared the gospel with them. He said it was, they couldn't leave. They were there in the car, and they appreciated what he was doing for them. So he shared the gospel with them. So these are just some creative ways to help you put creativity in action. Sensitivity is another one. It's intentionally seeking for ways to exercise kindness and compassion in order to be a blessing to others. And in this, we tell the story of a sweet lady, Mrs. Duncan, and I would take a couple of my grandkids. First, I took my kids, then my grandkids, to minister to her and her husband. They were shut-ins, and they had used to go to Sam's every week and get pizza for lunch, and that was a big thing that they looked forward to. Well, they couldn't do that anymore. So my grandkids and I went to Sam's, got a pizza, called them and asked them if we could come and share lunch with them. We got a dessert, and my grandkids served them, and we shared lunch with them. And in the process, Mr. Duncan was telling Adam about his experience in World War II, and Adam got to learn a lot from that experience. We did this to show sensitivity to them, to be kind to them, but we learned so much in the process, and we are so thankful that we did that. So here's some other ideas. Look around your church or community for shut-ins, for people who are elderly and infirm and can't get out from to their church or store anymore. Think of ways you can minister to them. Listen for hints of things that they miss or that they might like to do, or flowers that they like, or candy that they like. You make them cards and visit them. Make a Bible verse for them to hang up. Give them pictures of your family. Make them a scrapbook. Often they love to hear about what's going on in church because they can't get to church. They're shut-in, so they love to hear the news of what's going on in people's lives. Go Christmas caroling to the shut-ins. Find some other families who might like to go with you. Make cookies to bring them to them. It's just the opportunities are endless. So this book is meant to get your creative juices going and help you put shoe leather on character qualities so that your kids understand what it really means. You can say, be sensitive. You can say, be creative. But they don't really understand that unless you give them some examples of how to do that. The next one's kindness, looking for ways to be nice to someone or show them that you care. And this I tell about my granddaughter, Lauren. I did with her what I'd done with my youngest daughter. I told her, she was probably 10 at the time, and I told her, you know what, you can have a ministry in church. You look around for someone who might be lonely or a widower or a widow, somebody that you could go up and hug every Sunday and just have a hug ministry. Well, she did that. She found a lady who was not a widow, she was just elderly, and she would go up and hug her and tell her she looked pretty or ask how she was doing. And then we got to where we would invite her out to lunch, and we would talk with her about her life, and she led a really interesting life, and she would share about her life with us. But it just meant a lot for her to get her hug from Lauren every Sunday. You don't know what something simple like that can mean to an elderly person who doesn't get out much and see people much anymore. So look around you. Find an elderly person who'd be blessed to spend time with a young person. Ask them out to lunch. Visit them. Find out about their life. Find an elderly couple and see if there's a job that you could do, bringing out their patio furniture in the spring, putting it away in the fall, raking their yard, carrying brush for them, weeding their flower bed, watering their flowers. Invite them to dinner. You could even see if your mom or dad would pick them up and bring them home so you could ride along and talk with them. Invite them for a holiday meal, especially if they don't have family living nearby. Make them a card and send it in the mail. Draw a picture for them. Make a spring wreath or Christmas decorations and bring it to them. Make some chocolate chip cookies or an apple pie and surprise them with it. You might make an apple pie, bring some ice cream and sit and enjoy it with them. Find out what kind of flowers they like and bring them some just to brighten up their day. Be sure to tell them that you love them as you will once you get to know them. Okay, responsibility in action. Responsibility is answering a call to the duty that comes with being a citizen of the United States. Now, this is what we chose for responsibility. We're responsible in so many ways. Responsible as a family member, but this is what we chose for our story. And we tell about having our kids and our grandkids work the polls for godly candidates. And one of my daughters started when she was 10. And I told her, go up to the people as they walk into the polling place, be friendly, be cheerful. Don't wait for them to come to you, because they won't. You go up to them. So she saw this man get out of his truck. He had on camo. She went up to him and she said, do you like to hunt? He said, I sure do. She said, well, if you want to keep your guns, vote for this candidate. And he kind of laughed. And after he came out of the polling place, he said, voted for your candidate. But your kids, even though they're little, can have a lot of influence. A lot of people go in to vote and they don't know who they're going to vote for, or they haven't really studied the issues. They don't know who's for gun control or whatever. They haven't paid much attention to it. And they're kind of amazed to see a young person who cares. So we start our kids early, let them work. Assemble signs for good candidates. Usually every fall we have our patios full of candidate signs. Pass out literature for the candidate of your choice. Work the polls on election day. Remember, you get to influence voters. Be informed about the candidates, how they vote, what they believe on issues. Check it out with what God's word says and learn to articulate it to others. This is good incentive for your kids to learn good vocabulary and good communication skills. Write a letter to the editor about an issue or a candidate's qualifications for leadership. Newspapers love to print letters from children. It's rare for them to receive them. And this helps your kids to learn to spell correctly, use vocabulary skillfully, so that they learn how to influence others through their communications. Help stuff envelopes or stamp them for mailings. Watch the little ones while mom makes phone calls for candidates or important meetings. Attend meetings with your parents to become informed about the duties of a good citizen. This is another one we did once. Arrange a pizza party and provide letter writing materials and talking points when an issue arises that would benefit from a letter writing campaign. Host it at your house, make some goodies, invite people to come and write letters about the issue. Show videos at your home informing others of the godly heritage of our country. There's many good resources at Wall Builders if you want to do something like that. Compassion in action. And again, there's so many ways that you can put compassion in action. For this story, we chose working, compassion is speaking up for those who can't speak for themselves. So we chose going to a pro-life rally. And we did this. We had pictures of our family there at the pro-life rally. They made signs for it. We taught them to be respectful and kind to people going into the abortion clinic. And you never know who you're going to influence. And we tell some ways that people were influenced. They called, some people at the clinic called our group the praying people. So putting compassion in action. Have your family's name added to a list to be notified of pro-life rallies. Raise money for a pregnancy center. Our church does that every year. Recently, we had a small town nearby experience effects from a tornado. And our church asked people to bring cases of bottled water and things like that. They brought a big trailer truck and we filled that up to help the people that were in need. We had a man at our church who sometimes would minister to the Salvation Army. And some of our family went and helped fix the meal and serve that meal and talk with people. Visit a nursing home with your family and other friends. Sing them songs or play the piano or an instrument if your kids can do that. If you have a really nice family dog, ask for permission to bring him. And nursing home residents love to see kids. This is a great thing for kids to do. Try to put yourself in the place of others. Think, how would I feel if I were in their place? What could I do that would really be helpful to them? Ask God to show you needs that you can meet. And as I said, in the back of our book, we give people in Scripture who showed that character quality. So compassion is describe how Jesus showed compassion in these verses, and we give you some verses to look up as a family to see how Jesus showed compassion. Initiative. Initiative is seeing a need and taking responsibility to meet it without being asked. And who doesn't want your kids to use initiative? But they don't know what it is. You have to teach them. So our story here is me, Nana, calling up kids in my son Nate's family and asking them to come over for the day because their mom was pregnant and she was a little bit tired. So I brought the kids to my house, and the oldest daughter took the initiative to help with the kids, to give her mom a break. She read to the kids, she did some fun things with them, she played with them, but she was taking the initiative to help Nana give her mom a break. Look around you and see what your mom or dad or brother or sister might need help with. If it's something you could do, surprise them and offer to do it for them or with them. Maybe it would be something like emptying the trash, or something bigger, like folding the laundry or raking leaves for your elderly neighbors. God will bless you as you learn to seek out opportunities to be a blessing to those around you. Do one of your siblings' chores just to surprise them. Notice what your mom does each day. See if there's something you might do to help her without being asked. Be attentive when in church. Listen to see who is sick or who's having surgery. Make and send them a card. When you outgrow your nice church clothes, look and see if there's someone who might fit into them and may not have as many church outfits as you do. What a treat to give them a pretty dress or a nice church shirt or jacket. The next time your little brother or sister is at church and they're crying, see if you can entertain them and make them happy. Think of something you could do for your dad to brighten his day. Maybe you could feed the chickens or gather the eggs or spread some lime on the yard. Maybe mom could help you think of something to do for him. If you see something spilled on the kitchen floor, clean it up, even if you didn't spill it. And our Bible verse for that is in Nehemiah. Nehemiah's initiative. You read the Bible passage and you tell how Nehemiah showed initiative. So I hope you're getting the idea of how you can help your kids understand these qualities. They don't just, you need to teach them the Bible verse, and we give you a Bible verse for each one. But they need to see it in action. That's what you're doing. You're taking them by the hand and helping them put it in action. Generosity is being happy to share time, money, or food with others who are in need. And we use the story of Christmas boxes. We did the Operation Christmas Child Christmas boxes, and I took the grandkids to shop for the toys, the things that they wanted to put in the boxes. We read about the kids in the other countries. We put them together. Or find a family who's struggling financially and do some jobs to earn money so you can purchase Christmas gifts for them. See if your family's interested in sponsoring a child overseas. We know of a reputable organization, Allow the Children, and we give the website where you can help sponsor a child. Contribute money for diapers for children in orphanages in Romania. And there's another link to another family we know that ministers to orphanages in Romania. Earn money to give Bibles to Chinese people. And there's another link we give to Bridging the World that helps place Bibles for the Chinese. Or just find a child who doesn't have as many toys as you do and save up money to buy them something that you would love to have yourself. So for generosity, we use Dorcas. And we give you some Bible verses. How do we know Dorcas was generous? What do we learn of generosity in the following verses? You look up the verses and talk about generosity. Honor is to hold those who fought to protect our freedom as worthy of high esteem. Again, we chose to talk about veterans. We need to honor every people. You know, you could employ honor in many cases, but we interviewed a lot of vets, and we tell the stories of some of these in this book. Luke went to visit George Rogers, who was a Bataan Death March survivor. They had told him that he would not live a long life. Mr. Rogers died a few years ago at 100 years of age. He was a Christian man, and he was not bitter about his experience. It was just amazing to talk to him. We talk about another vet who we know personally who was in Vietnam War. We went to the Vietnam Wall with him. All the men in his troop lost their lives when they had an explosion, and he was blown out of the train that they were in, and he broke, I forget how many bones at the time, but through it, he tells how he became a Christian. And it's just amazing. I mean, what you learn about veterans. There's another one, and I'm brushing over these because I don't have time, but there was another one we used to visit, Mr. Overstreet, and he was a World War II flying ace. He actually flew his plane underneath the Eiffel Tower and shot down a German Messerschmitt. Years later, a man knocked on his door, and he asked if he was Mr. Overstreet. He said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Well, I would like to personally shake your hand." He said, "My dad was standing under the Eiffel Tower when you flew that plane under the Eiffel Tower and shot down the Messerschmitt. I've always wanted to personally thank you for helping to free France from the Germans." It's amazing. We've visited him a lot, and he shared so many stories. I think he inspired my youngest daughter to become a pilot. So putting honor in action. Watch for veterans in town. They often wear caps telling what branch of service they were in. We walk up, we still do this. We introduce ourselves, we thank them for their service. Then sometimes we'll see if we can talk with them later and interview them and hear their story. Attend an honor flight. This is a program that flies vets to Washington, D.C. to see the World War II Memorial. And you can sign up to help with that. Some families we know pay for veterans' meals when they see them in a restaurant. This is a great thing to do. Invite vets into your home. Ask to hear their experiences. Thank them for their service. Sometimes we have a big Independence Day celebration. We always do, but sometimes we ask a vet to share his story. Go to a restaurant that gives veterans free meals on Veterans Day. Approach them, thank them, or pay for their, just sit down and talk with them. You don't have to pay for their meal that time because they get it free, but talk with them, interact with them. Arrange to tour with veterans who have served. We've learned so much. And be sure to honor veterans' wives too. When we go to their homes to veterans' homes, sometimes one of my daughters will talk with their wives while another daughter's talking with the husband to hear about their experience and what it was like. Oh boy. Find ways to honor elderly folks. Our family helped sponsor a dinner at church for senior saints, and tables were set up and decorated. Some of the young people served. Others sat and talked with the folks. They made sure everyone had food and drink refills, and after that we had special singing. We sang hymns. And people said they felt so honored from that. And that's what we were trying to do, is honor them. Okay, we give some Bible references to look up to see how honor is given in the following references. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them. We do hospitality, alertness, gratefulness, availability, decisiveness, and deference. But I do want to tell about one more. This is a girl that we discovered. Decisiveness is making a wise decision with the confidence that God will bless the outcome. This is the true story of a little girl named Abigail who was watching a show called Life Today. I'm not familiar with it, but she turned it off and she ran upstairs to find her mom. It had showed kids in a third world country who had no clean water to drink. The only water they had was muddy and contaminated, and some of the children were dying. And she explained later, this is a quote, "I saw children dying and it made me sad. I was thankful that I had clean water, and that night I said, 'Mommy, we have to help these kids.'" Now her parents, they contacted the mission organization and found out how to help them. They found out that a new well would cost $4,000. So Abigail decided she was going to raise that money. And word began to get out that she was doing this. She got invitations to speak at Kiwanis clubs, homeowners groups, and she would often say, again, this is a quote, "My name is Abigail, and I want to raise money for a well, $4,800. God told me to raise money for this well because children were dying." Then totally unprompted and a surprise to her mom and dad, she would ask her audiences to count to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And she would say, "Now, a child just died from drinking dirty water." Her mom said you could have heard a pin drop. She came up with this on her own. The results were amazing. God continued to use her boldness and passion, and people continued to give her money. Abigail raised $5,400 in 5 weeks' time. And her dad said it was a powerful lesson for him about the power of God. God had touched a small child's heart and blessed her efforts. And many children were blessed to drink clean water. This was from a 5-year-old child. So, your kids can be used. There are things that you can do to influence others. Our last story in the book is something simple, deference in action. Deference is learning to put others first and share what you can do to bless others. And it's just a simple story about bringing a pie to an elderly man whose wife had died, and he didn't have home-cooked meals anymore. And I took my granddaughter and we brought him this pie, and it just meant so much to him. There's so much that you can do with little effort to impact others and to take your kids by the hand and serve others. That's what it's all about. We are left here to serve God, and part of that, a big part of that, is learning to invest our lives in others, to share the gospel, to lead them to the Lord, to show them kindness and compassion. That's what life is all about. That's why we're here on earth. So I wanted to take the time to share that with you so that you could see what we're trying to teach in this book. It gives plenty of ideas. And as I say, there's a few that I didn't take time to share with you. But there's scripture verses for each of them so that you can share the word with them, plus the real life example, plus a bunch of ideas for making this practical. And when all is said and done, I can't tell you how much it blesses my heart to watch my children who are now adults continue to be servants and to serve others and to jump when they see a need and to meet that need. My heart is constantly blessed as I hear about things my kids don't even think to share it with me, but I hear from other people things that they have done to serve other people. It is what they think about. It is a part of who they are. And I think if you will build that into them when you are young, you will see that reproduced when they are old. And I just can't tell you what a blessing it is. It blesses my heart to see my kids serving others. Your kids can accomplish so much more than you can yourself, but it's your job to train them and to guide them and to take them by the hand and show them how to do it. You can't just say, use initiative, be creative, be kind. You need to show them how to do it. So have fun while you do this. You know what? In some ways, this was the most important part of homeschooling my kids, is taking them by the hand and serving others. So don't get distracted by so many activities that you don't have time to serve as a family, because it's going to bless you, it's going to bless multiple people, and I think it's going to be part of hearing, well done, good and faithful servant, when you get to heaven. And you have the opportunity to train your kids to do that. So thanks for joining me today. I hope this was helpful. Hey, if you have topics you would like to hear me address, please feel free to comment and let me know, and I will see if that's something that I can address. I'd love to do that. So have a great week. See you next week.